What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Odin coming to you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the box office, but not really in the way that you would think, because this weekend was actually quite slow. There were really no major new releases. There were a couple of independent releases, and there was even a re-release of Schindler's List, which came in at number 14. Yes, a movie that came out over 20 years ago is doing better than some movies that have only been out for a few weeks. That says a lot, but also it's very good on Schindler's List. Very glad that it's doing well enough. Again, $500,000, not terrible for a re-release, especially for a 3-hour plus movie. And if you have not seen it yet, check your local theater to see if it's playing there, because it is amazing. It's actually playing in Dolby in certain theaters if your theater supports it. And I was very close to going to see it myself. However, because of time constraints and the fact that it's a 3-hour movie, was not able to do so, unfortunately. But it's doing very well. But as you can see up here, no really big new releases this weekend. But that does not mean that there is not a big story going on right now in the world of the box office. And it's actually an interesting one because it's coming from China, and it's with Aquaman. Aquaman, which has not been released in any other country except for China at this point, is doing really well. As you can see, the only market that it's opened in at this far, up to this point, is China, where it's made $93.6 million. So almost $100 million opening weekend just from the China box office. This is very good. This is a very good sign for Aquaman. This is actually a big surprise for me because I have not made it a secret that I am not excited for Aquaman. I think that Aquaman is not going to be very good, and the reason why is this. The CGI is atrocious, and you can attack me all you want. Oh my goodness, no, you're just a Marvel fanboy. I'm the same person that's saying that the Captain Marvel CGI looks awful too. I don't really discriminate when it comes to CGI. If CGI looks bad to my eye, I'm going to call it out as bad CGI. And the reason why I say this is bad CGI, because also I need to be very clear about what I mean by bad CGI. So obviously, this film is trying to mix real-world elements in with fantastical elements. And for me, if you're going to have any part of the real world in it with real live actors and real backgrounds, you need to be able to meld those two worlds together seamlessly. Some movies are able to do it very well, others are not. This is not the first movie that's had a CGI mess, CGI fest on screen. It's happened many times before. But the trailers for this film were just a complete CGI mess. Literally, all I could see was just digital noise on screen. Had no interest in seeing this film. But the fact that it's doing very well in China, and it hasn't come out yet. I mean, it's not coming out officially worldwide until December 21st. I'm now very excited to see this movie. The trailers have been terrible, and that's even, take the CGI aside, the trailers just have not been very good. They've been really cheesy, and not to the point where it's fun, cheesy you normally see in a superhero trailer. It was really bad cheese. It was Jason Momoa saying lines where I was like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Why do they keep trying to make you into a surfer dude? This is not does not work for you. But apparently it works well enough in the actual movie itself. So hopefully it was just really bad trailers, and instead we're gonna get a very good movie. This is a very good sign for them. Could possibly be their highest grossing film. And had you asked me, before this had happened, before this had been released in China, I would have said, there's no way this film cracks $1 billion. There's no way this film is the highest grossing Warner Bros. Film. But apparently it has done just that. Aquaman has now broken records in China with this release. Aquaman dives into China with $94 million, best ever Warner Brothers, DC, and December without international box office. So that is huge. That is big news for them. That means that this film could possibly be on pace to even get more money than Wonder Woman, which last time I checked was the highest grossing of all of the films. No DC film, mainstream DC film, has yet to break $1 billion at the box office, though this very well could be the first one, which is very surprising to me because it tells me a lot, one, about audiences in general and what they're looking for, and two, also marketing campaigns, because I think the marketing campaign was very robust for this. I don't think it was very good because, once again, I think the trailers were really poor and trash. But obviously they did something right. Maybe it was different trailers that they were releasing in the Chinese market that made it, appeal to Chinese audiences. I honestly don't know. But they obviously did something right, because in order to make $100 million opening weekend in China, which is sometimes a very hard market to break into in certain situations. I mean, just look to the fact that, Star Wars is having a huge problem trying to break into that market. The fact that Aquaman can break in there, who's probably one of the the most hated of all of the DC characters. Let's just be honest for a second. Go back to the cartoon. Who was always seen as the wimpiest character? Aquaman. Oh, he can talk to fish. That's great. Jason Momoa is now taking that character and turning him into a badass, the king of the seven seas. Now, I'm sure that this has been done in, you know, how DC has been very, very good at making animated movies. I'm sure that they've already taken care of this in animated movies, possibly even animated shows. I was never really a big, you know, by the time that DC was really coming out with shows, other than the Super Friends, I really didn't watch a whole lot of DC or even Marvel content. I didn't grow up with Spider-Man. I didn't grow up with X-Men, the animated series. I grew up with Batman, the animated series, which was fantastic. So that was kind of my introduction really to the DC universe, but I never really got into Aquaman. My only image of Aquaman was from the Justice Friends, which was just, oh no, Super Friends, sorry, the Super Friends, which was from like the 1950s, 1960s, and it was so campy, and that's pretty much my only experience that I've ever had with that film. So the fact that Jason Momoa and DC are now taking this, Warner Brothers especially, are now taking this concept and kind of running with it, could mean that this is the Aquaman that a lot of us has been waiting for. Now, I still have my reservations because I still cannot get over that CGI. I'm sorry, like I'm a big, if you listened to my channel before, if you heard me talk about movies, especially that have big CGI elements, that is like a big thing to me. If a movie has bad CGI, I'm gonna talk about it. If a movie does CGI very well, I'm gonna talk about it. If a movie relies too heavily on CGI, even if it's done well, I'm going to talk about it. It's always been kind of my big pet peeve. And even though the CGI looks like garbage, at least from the trailers, it looks like, I don't know if it just looks different on screen or maybe the tone of the film kind of justifies the campiness of the CGI effects as well. I don't know. Maybe that's the case, but Chinese audiences are loving it. And this looks very, very good for the future of this film when it gets a not only domestic release here in the United States, but also a worldwide release in other countries. Because as I said before, China is usually a pretty good indicator about how much a movie can make, because China does obviously provide a lot of income, but it also does have its own limits. You know, being following the box office for a while now, I know that when it comes to a big budget film, you usually don't see the giant numbers. Like, you know, in worldwide totals, you usually see between like $800 and $900 million usually if it's a big budget, very well done film like that's making a lot of money. Normally China is around 200 to 300, maybe even $350 million of that, which is still a pretty decent chunk. It's usually about a third of that box office. So if it's already made $100 million, roughly $100 million at this point, it looks very good. That means that it's going to make at least $300 million at the very least, and it's going to make more than that overseas. It's probably going to be comparable in domestic markets as well. So this is a film that pretty much at this point is guaranteed, because even if you have that 50-50 split or even get close to it, you're looking at around $600 million. And so this film, and that's again being on the very, very low end, this film is without a doubt in my mind at this point. Again, have you asked me a week ago before it released in China, before we start getting the reports of how well it was doing, I would have said there's no way this film's going to crack $1 billion. I think this film is going to be the first DC film to crack $1 billion, and a lot of it's going to have to do with how well it's doing in China at this point. Now, of course, if it drops off tremendously from week 1 to week 2, that might be an indicator that things might change, but this is a very, very good start. Again, the best start for Warner Brothers, DC, or December, bow in a foreign country at this point, and that's huge news for them, and that's a very good way to get things started. So it would be interesting to see how this movie does in the long run, and I will be back the weekend that it comes out to tell you just how well it's doing. And I'm sure that the critics are going to be very mixed on this, because it is a heavily CGI movie. It's a superhero film, it's a DC film, so critics tend not to be the most kind to those kind of things, but we shall see. Hopefully there's no identity politics, because if there is, that might explain why it might have a high rating, but we shall see. It looks like it's still going to make money regardless. So let's just go through some of the other movies that have been out for a while now and just see where they are. So Ralph Breaks the Internet, still making crap ton of money, $258 million. So looks to the point now where it's starting to make a profit. And then we get this film. This is the film that won't die. I mean, just take a look at this for a second. This was the second highest grossing film of the weekend. How is The Grinch? I mean, I know why. Like, I have my speculation as to why. It's because we're in the Christmas season and it's one of the few Christmas movies out, but it doesn't explain it totally, because then why do you not see the Nutcracker anywhere higher on this list? I mean, you see it still stuck at 13, and that's exactly where it was last week. You see it dropped another 30%. So this film is still bleeding money, and it's still going to be a huge box office loss for them. Like, let's even get an update, because I even forgot that this film even existed, because let's just be honest, it's going to be a huge flop. Again, $140 million worldwide. It only gets 60% of that, meaning it's made around $80 million. And then you have to subtract, then you have to subtract the fact that it costs $180 million. So this thing is already $100 million in the hole. That's not very good, and it's not going to make that kind of money back. And so if it was Christmas, and if the Christmas season was making people want to see more holiday films, then this film will be doing better than what it is. So there's obviously something more. Maybe it's the animation style. Maybe people are just a big, big fan of the Universal animation. I don't know. I mean, this is the same studio that's given us some other really interesting some other really interesting characters, you know, especially from the animation side in recent years. But I don't know. Maybe it was the marketing campaign. The fact that they were so obnoxious with it. Like 6, 7, 8 months out from the movie, they were marketing for this film. I had to see the damn Grinch and every single second of my screen. Last time I went to the movies, they were still promoting the movie. So maybe it's the marketing campaign. I don't really know. Maybe it's because it's a classic tale of the Grinch. People saying, oh, it's the Grinch. You know, I want to bring my kids to it because it's going to be an updated version. I don't know. Because, I mean, the reviews weren't great either, and yet it's made $322 million worldwide on a $75 million budget. Yeah, this film is like $200 million plus right now as far as around how much money it's made. Maybe a little bit less than that, but it's on at least pace to make that much money in profit, which is just crazy. Creed is finally starting to make a little bit more money. So as I said before, it was kind of a slow running. As you see, the domestic total is going to be higher here. It's a story that's just not going to play to foreign markets. I'm like, there's just no. I mean, he's but the Russians are in it, yeah, but it's an American story, let's just be honest, which is why you see that huge drop off between the domestic and the foreign markets. But still, $119 million. This film is going to make a profit, though not a huge one, which is sad because I've heard great things about it. I'm going to try and go see this movie today, finally. Grindelwald. I mean, people are saying, oh, it's not as good as the other ones, and oh, it hasn't made as much money. And I agree. I think Crimes of Grindelwald breaks canon in a lot of ways, and I think there's a lot of problems with it. But at the end of the day, it's still making money. I can't deny that. I can't deny the fact. So even though I don't like it personally, it still made over $500 million on a $200 million budget, which means it's making a profit, which justifies them making a third film. I don't think they should, because J.K. Rowling is just writing random things down now, trying to make more money. And people start saying, oh, she doesn't care about the money. Well, then why is she continuing this story and now at the expense of her canon? If she really cared about her story, if she really cared about the canon of Harry Potter, then she would stop writing or would stop trying to just push agendas down everyone else's throat. And as I said before, Aquaman, I never expected this. So I was wrong. And I will admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. I thought that Aquaman was not going to do anything. I thought that it was going to be another low-grossing DC film. Apparently I'm wrong, and I admit that. But it's still very early. Again, this is just China, and this is just opening weekend. We'll have to see how it, fits in with the rest of the world and also within the United States as well. But at this point, if it's doing this well in China, as I said before, you're looking at around $600 million minimum that this film makes. And I think that this film could be the first DC film to break $1 billion. The closest one to that, to my knowledge, was Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman made around $850-$60 million. So very close to the $1 billion mark, but this one just might be the first DC film. But guys, what are y'all's thoughts on this? Do you think that Aquaman will be the first movie to break $1 billion? Are you excited for Aquaman? Again, I'm kind of mixed. I'm definitely more positive towards it now because I obviously did not expect it to be well received, and apparently people are going to see it. And yeah, I'm kind of excited for it now, to be honest, and I never thought I would be. So guys, let me know your thoughts about this or any of the other movies I talked about today. And also, put in on that question. Why is Dr. Seuss's The Grinch doing better than Nutcracker? Is it because of the movie quality, or is it for other means? Because, again, I don't know how that's still the number 2 movie in the world, or rather, no, number 2 movie in the United States, because I know those are the domestic totals. But I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But guys, if you like this video, smash that like button. Give us a subscribe. It helps us out a lot. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Thank you so much for watching. Also, go support me on my channel, Odin's Movie Blog, and also where I post vlogs, the new channel that I have, Welcome to Asgard. It really would be well appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.